Next on the news. Bishop Robert Brennan celebrated a special Memorial Day Mass at St. Charles Cemetery in Farmingdale. Pope Leo XIV officially takes his seat as the Bishop of Rome at the Basilica of St. John Lateran. Plus,
he went from tuning up cars to following the call of the Lord. I'm Katie Vasquez, and I'll have the story of Deacon Alvaro Morales Sanchez coming up.
And we'll meet a teacher of theology from New Jersey who tells us about his life-changing talk with our new Holy Father. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now.
There's nothing that I have done to say that I merited, that I somehow deserve or earned this gift, and just very privileged, really truly to be called by the Lord to this vocation.
He's trading in working on cars for the chance to tune up souls for God. Tune-ups, brake checks, and oil changes were all part of Deacon Alvaro Morales Sanchez's work as a diesel mechanic, a trade skill he thought would lead to a viable career. But God had other plans, and now he's one of 7 men who will be ordained in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Currents News' Katie Vasquez has his story from Queens Village.
Getting his hands dirty with a little engine grease isn't a tough task for Deacon Alvaro Morales Sanchez.
You have here, this is the maximum.
When he was 19, the transitional deacon completed studies in diesel mechanics, working with engines and heavy machinery.
I was very good, or at least at that point, just following schematics, doing a lot of electrical and diagnostics. I had to check the thread.
And it's a profession he thought was his destiny, but there was a void in his life.
I had all these things that are very good, but somehow I still felt empty. I still felt unsatisfied. I still felt unhappy.
His parents came to the U.S. from Mexico, and Deacon Alvaro and his brother followed them 4 years later. While living in New Jersey, his family embraced the Neo-Catechumenal Way, a spiritual movement that aims to deepen the faith of its members through ongoing formation.
My parents, they entered the church, and their marriage also was rebuilt because they were also on the verge of divorce.
He participated in vocation-forming meetings and was surprised by his answers.
I kept saying yes, and I kept asking myself afterwards, why did I say yes,
But the moment he realized this was the path he belonged on was spending time with a priest in Michigan.
I said, maybe God can do the same with me. And that was it, It was just that, to see how this priest gave his life, completely without reservation.
And he's glad that he listened to the Lord and will be ordained in June.
I see that this is a great gift, that there's nothing that I have done to say that I merited, that I somehow deserve or earned this gift, and just very privileged, really truly to be called by the Lord to this vocation. And just take out one of the fuses.
Deacon Alvaro hopes to tune up the faithful with the Word of God.
The joy of what it is to see the lives of the people be transformed as my life was transformed.
Getting out from under the hood and into the sacred halls of the church. In Queens Village, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
Bishop Robert Brennan honored those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country with a special Memorial Day Mass.
The blue field represents the sky that overlooks our land and denotes
the Brooklyn Bishop celebrated the field Mass at St. Charles Resurrection Cemetery in Farmingdale. At the start of the Mass, 2 red and blue wreaths were placed near the front of the altar honoring the fallen. During his homily, Bishop Brennan thanked the community for joining together to pray and remember those serving the country.
And while it's a day for enjoyment and gatherings, we also know that it's a very somber day, a day of remembrance, a very sober day. As we recall those who have given their lives in the service of our nation, in the service of justice, in the service of freedom, in the service of peace.
Similar liturgies were held at all cemeteries owned and operated by Catholic Cemeteries of Brooklyn and Queens. Pope Leo XIV made his first appearance at the window of the Apostolic Palace on Sunday. Until now, his previous two Regina Caeli prayers were held in different locations. The first was on the central corridor of the Basilica, since the palace was still sealed after the death of Pope Francis. The second was in St. Peter's Square, following the Mass marking the start of his pontificate. In this Sunday's Regina Caeli, the Holy Father marked the 10th anniversary of one of the key documents of Pope Francis's pontificate.
10 anni fa, Papa Francesco firmava l'enciclica Laudato Si, dedicata alla cura della casa comune. Essa ha avuto una straordinaria diffusione, ispirando innumerevoli iniziative e insegnando a tutti ad ascoltare il duplice grido della terra e dei poveri.
The Pope also reminded the faithful that the day before was the day of prayer for the Church in China. It's held every May 24th on the Feast of Mary, Help of Christians. Sunday was a busy day for the Holy Father. He went to the Basilica of St. John Lateran, which is the cathedral of the Diocese of Rome, and that's why Pope Leo XIV went there, to formally take his seat as the Bishop of Rome. Cardinal Reina, the Vicar of Rome, presided over the ceremony by which the Pope is invited to assume his role as Bishop of the city. The chair is symbolized by a marble and mosaic throne located at the back of the basilica. The symbolism of this moment drew enthusiastic applause. Immediately afterward, a group of faithful, including priests, religious, and Roman families, approached Pope Leo XIV in what is known as the rite of obedience. In his homily, Pope Leo spoke about Pope John Paul I, whose pontificate lasted only 33 days. He recalled the words Pope John Paul I said to the people of Venice when he was named patriarch.
Io dico ai Romani qualcosa di simile. Posso assicurarvi che vi amo, che desidero solo entrare al vostro servizio e mettere a disposizione di tutti le mie povere forze, quel poco che ho e che sono.
At the end of the celebration, Pope Leo appeared at the Basilica's balcony to greet those waiting outside and to deliver a message.
Vivere la nostra fede, specialmente durante questo anno di giubileo, cercando la speranza, però cercando di essere noi stessi testimonianza che offre la speranza al mondo. Un mondo che soffre tanto, tanto dolore per le guerre, la violenza, la povertà.
Then, in the Pope Mobile, he traveled from St. John Lateran to St. Mary Major. There, Pope Leo once again prayed before the Salus Populi Romani, the protector of the Roman people. Afterwards, the Holy Father visited the tomb of Pope Francis once again. Finally, just as he did at St. John Lateran, the Pope appeared at the balcony of St. Mary Major, greeting everyone present before returning to the Vatican.
Ringrazio tutti coloro che lavorano in questa basilica, i due cardinali che mi accompagnano questa sera, tante persone che sono dedicate ad aiutarci a vivere la nostra vita di preghiera, di devozione, soprattutto che ci aiutano a avvicinarci alla Madre di Gesù, la Madre di Dio, Maria Santissima. È una bellissima opportunità per rinnovare questa devozione a Maria, Salus Populi Romani, che ha accompagnato tante volte il popolo di Roma nelle sue necessità.
After a busy afternoon, Pope Leo XIV returned to the Vatican, now officially the Bishop of Rome. Catholics around the country continue to celebrate the first American Pope, especially those who can say they've actually met him. Joining us now is Brendan Towle, a theology teacher at St. Augustine Preparatory School in New Jersey, who has a special connection to our new Holy Father. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. So you say you've had a life-changing talk with then Father Robert Prevost back in 2010. Tell us about it.
I did, and I've been reliving it now in real time. And I can tell you, a lot of people have been asking me this question because I think there's a natural attraction to people wanting to have a relationship with the Pope. And I'm lucky to say that I have one. In 2010, I was discerning a religious vocation myself. I had sort of been raised in the Augustinian tradition. I went to an Augustinian high school, undergraduate at Merrimack College, graduate school at Villanova. So you could say I've been in the family. And I was very attracted to the way the Augustinians do things. It's sort of a flavor, if you want, of Catholicism. And I was very attracted to that. And I thought perhaps God is calling me to serve as a religious brother or perhaps a priest. And I was at this event as a chaperone primarily. And I saw that the Superior General of the entire global order was at the event. So I thought, what better time than now to just approach him and talk to him. He wasn't shocked or taken aback. He made time for me. We spoke, we prayed, and that has stuck with me for years. The photo that I think a lot of people have seen of me with him has been on my computer, saved for years. And occasionally you go through your computer and think, I'm going to clear out some old things. I always kept that because I said, no matter what happens to him, that was a special moment for me. And I'm really glad I kept that photo.
Oh, that's awesome. And even though you didn't become a priest, you're still involved with the Augustinians, which is nice. So what was your reaction when he was elected Pope?
I think it was an affirmation for what I really believed in my heart the church needed. I articulated that in an article that I wrote about a week and a half before conclave began. I just looked around the Catholic landscape and I didn't see people talking about him. And I thought that was a mistake because for a variety of reasons, I thought he really ought to be considered. When he was in fact elected, I was with my students. This is 2 conclaves in a row have occurred during the school year for me at this school. Oh, wow. And I got to be with my students both times, both when Pope Francis came out on the balcony and now Pope Leo. And I got to tell you, as an Augustinian school, this place went crazy. People were yelling and screaming and clapping. They came over the loudspeaker. It was really cool. It was a fun time it's a great time to be Catholic, and it's a really great time to be Augustinian.
Absolutely. And you were talking about what you wrote. You actually wrote an Augustinian would make an excellent Pope. So you kind of called it. What is it about being an Augustinian that will help Pope Leo in his papacy?
Well, I think his being an Augustinian is everything to him. The brief amount of time that I was able to spend with him, but paying attention to him and his career from afar, and then also talking with people who I'm very close with, who are also close with him. His Augustinian formation is everything to him. For people who may be more interested, I wrote a piece for the National Catholic Register that was published this weekend. I was given access kind of exclusively to his doctoral dissertation that he wrote in 1987. I had to get permission from the province to look it over, but I worked on a piece that was published, and it was very revealing because I do believe that his vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, his formation with the rule of St. Augustine, community life, servant leadership, these are the things that characterize his writing in 87. And it's also what I think I heard pretty clearly in his homily just on Sunday. So I think when people are looking at Pope Leo, you have to take into account that he's an Augustinian friar. His heart is restless, just like ours. Augustine said, our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Well, what is our world full of? Unrest. And I think an Augustinian Pope is going to really help us find that rest that we need in the Lord.
All right. Brendan Towle from St. Augustine Preparatory School. Thanks so much for being with us and sharing your story.
Thank you, Christine. God bless you.
The Holy Father's first high-level appointment in the Roman Curia is a woman. Sister Tiziana Merletti will serve as Secretary of the Dicastery for Consecrated Life. The 65-year-old holds a doctorate in canon law. She was also leader of the Franciscan Sisters of the Poor for nearly a decade. For the first time since 1914, St. Teresa of Jesus' remains were publicly displayed for the faithful to venerate. Nearly 100,000 made a pilgrimage to the Basilica of the Annunciation of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Spain over a span of 15 days, forming a line around her open silver casket where she's dressed in the habit of the Carmelite order. This is only the third time in history this event has occurred. And before we go, do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time. She's retired, but she's still working.
Okay, come again, girls.
Instead of counting cash, the former bank manager is counting her blessings at the church gift shop.
Oh, look. And you know, you meet a lot of people that maybe just come into church and they're happy to meet you and they feel that they're welcome. And they tell me that, so it makes you feel good.
How Teresa Sorrentino makes up the pulse of the parish, Wednesday on Currents News.